Hey, you're listening to Life Insights Live with Scout Bartlett. That's right. You are listening to Life Insights Live with Scout like Pathfinder, Bartlett like Pears, originating from our flagship studios of KEST 1450 AM in San Francisco. Syndicated and simulcast around the world on www.ifidknownthen.com, www.ifidknownthen.com. Life Insights Live, the radio show, has been recognized as the longest-running major market personal growth radio program in the nation. We're pretty proud of that, so we have archived a gazillion, well, plus or minus 2, episodes up on our website. You're welcome to go in and download those. You will have to register for the website, but we don't buy, steal, sell, or monetize that information. In fact, we actually ask you to sign up for our mailing list separately from that. At this point, we do not take you from registration to mailing list on purpose, so please do. Add yourself to our mailing list, and also, if you Facebook, go in and find and like Life Insights Subtext Educational up on Facebook. Ah, fabulous. Now, I know how brains work, and I know we just said the name of our website like a half a dozen times, ifidknownthen.com, and your brain registered that, oh, that's easy, I'll remember that, and it really thought it would, but I know how that works. Your brain registered, oh, it was something easy. I'm going to remember that. And I'll tell you frankly, if you go type in www, it was something easy that I was going to remember, that's not going to do it. It may come as some shock. However, we do have an easy-to-remember, drill it into your brain, mnemonic, memorable shortcut that will take you directly into that website. And all you have to do is go type in, well, Carlos, you give it to him.
The shortcut is notscott.com.
That's right, www.notscott.com. And there you go. That'll take you right into our website and all the goodies thereof. Oh, and for those of you that were having an iPhone challenge, if you haven't tried it, we did finally find a player that iPhone would cooperate with, so now it'll play directly. But you are still welcome to download them into your Apple or your Android or your PC or your Mac device, and then you can upload 100 of them onto your phone or in your Mac device. You could listen to just me all day long. And there's actually a link there that you can get to empty the cache in your phone, and then you can go from that. You can link to empty the cache in your Android phone. I highly suggest you do that about 4 times a year, maybe more, depending upon how much stuff gets stuck in your phone. You'll be amazed. It'll make a difference. So here we are, almost the middle of May, 2021. What a different world from May of 2020. But we're still in the midst of this huge energy transformation of planet Earth. Now, that's pushing on large groups of people, which is how we're seeing ongoing flare-ups of groups of people getting really urgent about their side or their view or their point of view. We're seeing ongoing flare-ups. We're seeing ongoing flare-ups of people getting really urgent about what it is that they're feeling needs to be addressed, what it is that they're feeling is the important topic, how it is they're feeling the world should work. Not just our country, all around the world, we're seeing interesting stuff going on. Big time, politically, socio, and so forth. And so we can see the energy when it pushes on groups of people. It's kind of like back when we had larger workshops, particularly the New Living Expo, where I would typically have the New Living Expo, or even before that, the New Age Renaissance Fair, where I'd have rooms full of 150, 300 people. And I have an energy practice that I do. It's kind of I'll call it a little subtle test for me to find out whether or not I'm getting things done, whether or not I'm getting them across energetically. And I'll actually take people through this process where I pull back my energy broadcast and let everybody get settled, and I watch the room. And then I will take out, and then I'll expand my energy broadcast, and so that they'll be able to notice a vivid difference. The first go-round of that, when I expand my energy broadcast, I'll actually expand it out, but I'll be broadcasting sort of I'll call it a squished energy. Squish down. compressed down energy. And it's fun because in a large room, in a small room, you can kind of watch the differences, but in a large room, you have a little static today, so we'll just have to live with it. But in a larger room, I get to see literally that wave of energy as people shift in their seats and readjust and look around to see how close they are to the exit because they're suddenly bored and not knowing why. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll then shift the energy in the room, not anybody, just the energy in the room, like, change the temperature in the pool. And then I'll watch everybody just really settle back in their chairs and really zoom in and dial in on what I'm doing. We're affected by the energies around us. We get the same results in small rooms. It's just not as vivid in a small room. In a big room, you can actually see people, you can see the waves of energy roll through and people shift and readjust and look at their clock or their watch or whatever they've got and gauge the distance to the exit, and then you can watch the whole room settle in. We're affected by the energy around us. No different than the fact that, for that analogy, no different than the fact that our body is affected if we're in a warm room or a cold room or a hot tub or a cold tub. Our body's affected by those thermal things in our surroundings, but on an intuitive level, we're affected by the energies around us. And we respond to that. One piece I always like to point out is that everybody has a tendency to match to the most consistently held energy in the space. Everybody has a tendency to match to the most consistently held energy in the space. Now, you'll notice I did not say everybody matches to the strongest or the brightest or the happiest. Everybody has a tendency to match to the most consistently held energy in the space. Which is why if we've got an office that's got some one grumpy person in it, even if they're just doing coding or they're just doing bookwork, if we've got an office that's got a grumpy person in it, there's going to be a tendency for the whole office to gradually become grumpy. Everybody's got that tendency to match the most consistently held energy in the space. One, which is a sort of a side note, that makes it a really good idea. That makes it a really, really good idea to not have grumpy people in your business, consistently grumpy people or consistently negative people. Makes it a really good idea to not have that so that you don't have everybody matching to that. At the same time, makes it a really interesting place that one can then choose to be the most consistently held energy in the space. One can decide to be the most consistently held energy in the space, which is not to say that you're overriding or taking domination over everybody else. You're just taking dominion over your own energy and allowing everybody else to do whatever they do. Now, I notice, because this is a part of my practices, is to make sure that I carry my energy vivid and full in me all the time. I carry my energy vivid and full in me all the time. And then I am observant to my surroundings, simply because I pay attention to being aware. I pay attention to being alert. I pay attention to being conscious. It's my thing. It's what I do, right? And so I am always paying attention to being conscious to the best of my ability. And when I notice I'm not, I come back to that. And then again, when I notice I'm not, I come back to that. And then again, etc. You got it, right? And so a part of my practices is being conscious, being aware of myself, as well as how I'm being influenced or changed, or how I'm having a tendency to match that most consistently held energy around me, whatever. I pay attention to that. And as I pay attention to that, I pay attention to me, which is to say that, again, when we're willing to be in charge of our own energy, when we're willing to be aware of and responsible for our own energy state, then we can notice how people are around us. Now, that doesn't mean that if I encounter one grumpy person in my surroundings, that necessarily means that my energy is off key. But I do observe that, like if I'm in a line to make a purchase, if the person behind the register is grumpy when I get into line, I'm going to pay attention to see if they're still grumpy by the time I get there. My norm is that by the time I get there, they're at least neutral, because everybody has a tendency to match the most consistently held energy in the space. And if I'm paying attention to my energy, I'm going to be the most consistently held energy in my space, because I'm the one that's paying attention. Right? Well, we also get to pay attention to those things in the world, those energy movements in the world that are shifting and changing things for us. We get to pay attention to that as well. This spring rolling in has been part of this huge shift of energy across the planet. This spring rolling in, well, obviously, we're in the midst of a huge transformation. That's why we're seeing the extremes of polarity. That's why we're seeing the extremes of polarity. That's why we're seeing the extremes of change going on. That's why we're seeing the extremes of response in terms of people wanting things to be different than what they have been, or what we've been seeing for years or even generations. Kind of like the 60s again all of a sudden, except much more vivid, and we're seeing it all over the world. So you do want to pay attention to that. We are indeed seeing this stuff all over the world. We're seeing political change, we're seeing polarity, we're also seeing an awakening of, oh my gosh, we are all interconnected, and what affects us affects everybody, and no, we can't just draw a fake line on a map and say, well, good, anything that's inside this line we'll pay attention to, and anything that's outside this line we won't. Doesn't work that way. And so the energies that have been rolling across the planet this spring, that you may recognize as I talk about them today, the energies that have been rolling across the planet this spring, I've kind of dubbed it as it's big waves washing forward or bringing forward stuff that we've had kind of in the back of our consciousness or in the back of our mind. It's bringing forward stuff that we've had in the back of our mind right up to the front of it, and it's doing that usefully. I mean, it's doing that such that we can recognize old thought habits and old subconscious habits and clear them out, free up that energy. But this time this time stuff is being washed forward intensely, and so you may have found yourself suddenly in these experiences and kind of like perhaps wondering about yourself, or why is this up for me, or why is this showing up, or what's going on for me, or is this just from social isolation, or. So we're going to talk more about those, but first we're going to break away and give you the website, give you our website so that you can keep track of what we're doing, and also to identify the station so that we stay legal. So with all that, stick around. I've got a lot more to say. Phew. So this year, this spring, the changing energies of this spring, the energies we're immersed in this spring, I'm simply referring to it as regrets, remorse, resentments, and grief. And bluntly put, it's almost like, somebody took a small bulldozer into the back of the closet, and all that stuff that had been sort of in the back of our psychological closet, kind of minding its own business, we'd been ignoring it. It owned a portion of our life force. It owned a portion of our aliveness. It owned a portion of our ability to be mindful or present, but it was just like hanging out there, like, I hate to say it, but kind of like that magazine that you bring in and put on the coffee table for a minute when you're bringing in the mail. And there's a place where after a few days of being on the coffee table, it sort of looks so familiar on the coffee table as if it belongs there and becomes, as one friend of mine describes it, landscape. Well, this is all of those old memories and old thoughts and old stuff that have sort of become landscape in the back of our mind, except that this spring, the energy rolling across the planet is taking all of that landscaped stuff and popping it right up to the front. It's popping it right up to the front. And so you may have noticed that you're having a lot of thoughts rolling up and rolling forward. That you're having a lot of thoughts rolling up and rolling forward that have the shape of either being regrets or things that you're remorseful about, or particularly resentments and griefs. Now, this energy change on the planet, and we've talked about this on some of the other weeks, but this energy change on the planet is pushing forward our energy frequency, or pushing upward our energy frequency. And so I will let you know that we refer to it as the veil. The distance between those of us that are alive, aware, and in bodies, and those that have completed a passage in a body and crossed over, the distance between us and those who have crossed over has effectively decreased. You could think of it that the veil has thinned, or you could think of it that somebody built a ramp and scaffolding along the side of the wall or the fence between us and the other side of the veil, and so that we're now closer to the top of that fence or closer to the top of that differentiation, that wall. None of the analogies work quite right, but you get the point. And so in the world of grief, you may be noticing that little flitting memories, or even into your dreams, that people that have crossed over may be showing up in your dreams, or showing up in your mind, or feeling very present, or perhaps you're even having waves of sadness, waves of the sorrow part of grief. That you may even be having those waves of sadness rolling in. And that's a part of what's going on right now. The thing to do with those is simply allow them to roll in and roll through. Your mind is going to say that it needs to figure it out, get a handle on it, solve it, whatever that would mean. That's what your conscious mind is going to be yelling at you, that we need to figure this out, get a handle on it, we need to solve it. And it's really not about solve it. It's about letting it roll through and effectively releasing our psychological or even the physical tension in our body, physical grip on those sorrowful memories. Releasing the grip on those memories of those that are no longer in our life because they've crossed over, or even those that are no longer in our life because our life paths changed and took a different route. It's releasing the attachment, it's releasing the grip on those memories to simply allow them to flow through. And in doing that, we're allowing our mind to, I'll say, drain off the sorrow around those particular memories. We're allowing our mind to let the sorrow that's attached to those memories, those individuals, those thoughts, we're allowing our mind to drain off the sorrow. All of that is, the sorrow energy that can be attached, the other energies that can be attached, all of that is thought process, our own energy that's attached there and stays stuck there so that it's unavailable to us. It's our own energy that ends up staying stuck on that memory, making that stuck energy unavailable to us. And it really turns out that it's way more handy for us to let ourselves have our energy and our life force back again. It's way more handy for us to let ourselves have our energy and our life force back again. Free it up, have it available, bring it forward. Now, additionally, folks are finding that a lot of memories are resurfacing that would be resentments or even regrets. Some of you may find that if you're really paying attention in your mind, you're finding yourself replaying events that happened months, weeks, months, years, decades ago. You may find that a portion of your mind is replaying things that happened weeks or months or decades ago, still trying to strategize those things so that you could figure out how you could have won at that, or what you should have done, or how it should have gone, or how it should have played out. This stuff is just getting pushed forward for us to release it. Now, the first piece I would say, it's not really useful for you to try to figure out how to go back and find those people and explain to them how wrong they were. Not going to be useful. For one, we're talking place where we've got regrets or resentments. Regrets, if we hurt somebody, it always makes sense to let them know that we are saddened or unhappy to recognize that we did something that was probably hurtful, and we wish to make sure that and we wish to reinforce them knowing that it really didn't reflect that we thought badly of them, unless it did, in which case leave it alone. But it really didn't reflect that we thought badly of them. It was just us in a weird space, and we really apologize for any way that it communicated anything different than respect. But other than that, regrets and particularly resentments, truthfully, in most cases, if you try to go back to clean that up with people, there's a really good chance that they won't know what you're talking about. Particularly if you're really if you're resenting them or you have regrets that they took your friendship sideways, really good chance they won't have any idea what you're talking about. And if they do have any idea what you're talking about, really good chance they still feel the same way now that they felt when they did whatever that was. Not going to give you a whole lot of satisfaction. And the key part being, the most important part being, and it's always really key to remember, that while these things get brought up, brought forward, or triggered, it is true that these things get brought up and brought forward or triggered in our interactions with other people, it's really not about the other people. It's really about how we take it and how it affects us, or how we let it affect us. It's really not about the other people. It's about how we take it, how we hold it, what we hold on to, and then what we grip. Now, I'll grant you, there are things that everybody would agree this is right, or everybody would agree this is wrong, or. There's all that fun stuff. But the truth is, in any topic, by the time you get to a place of everybody would agree, you're way more into righteousness than you are actually into anything to do with them at that point. They're just doing them. You just happen to be the person in front of it that time. Now, we're talking a lot about awareness, and one of the key parts of awareness is freeing up our energy, but the other key part in awareness is us also making sure that we build and maintain our energy. So we're freeing up the stuff that got stuck, but we also want to be continually refilling our energy storage tanks, refilling our energy batteries so that we've got a good solid fill of energy rolling. And to do that, the best form I know for building our energy is meditation. So I want to take about 2 minutes and 45 seconds now to teach you the live, L-I-V-E, live beam meditation practice. We're going to teach in about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. There's a couple things I always have to say. One, if you're operating a motor vehicle, when I invite you to close your eyes, please don't. Please keep them open and pay attention because the people around you aren't. The second layer of that is our public service announcement, which is simply if you're on a bicycle, bicycles belong on the street, not on the sidewalk. Bicycles belong on the street, and bicycles belong on the same side of the street with the flow of traffic. Pedestrians, when there's not a sidewalk, walk facing traffic. Bicycles ride with traffic, okay? So that's our public service announcement. We do have one more tip. If your brain just said that you can't possibly take a 2 minute and 45-second break out of your schedule right at the moment to practice this meditation with us, we've got some really good insights for you.
You might be wound up a little bit too tight.
Just a little bit. Cool. So with all of that said, go ahead and light somewhere. Set yourself down. Just let your eyes get closed. And just let yourself draw in a long, deep breath till your lungs are full, and let that air flow out again. And as you're ready for another breath, let it be a long, deep breath. And this time, imagine the air flowing out through your body, as if your body were layers of silk or fabric. And with each breath, let the air flow in, and then let it flow out through your body, feeling your body open and expand. And in your imagination, imagine reaching down to the center of this planet Earth and stirring that warm, rich, dense energy there. Curl that imaginary hand into a cup, and now use that cupped hand to draw a streamer of energy from the center of the Earth, right up through the Earth and into your body, just in front of your tailbone, right there at your first chakra. Let it connect. Take a moment, in fact, to allow yourself to feel that same warmth, center of Earth, right up through Earth and into your body, right at your tailbone. And now draw that streamer of energy upward in your body, drawing it up through your abdomen, through your chest, through your neck, through your head, out the top of your head, and all the way up and into what I'll just call source. Piercing it into like a big energy cloud overhead, allowing it to pierce into that big energy cloud and let there be a surge or a flood of energy from the center of the Earth right up through your body, all the way up and into source, fountaining or geysering. You are uplifting, transmuting physical level energy from Earth core to source. And using your will now, focus on that beam and will it to be bigger, broader, faster, richer, denser, faster. Speed it up. Increase the energy flow up that beam. Big surge, big surge, big surge. Increase that energy flow from Earth core right up through your body to source. And as you do that, you may actually feel a pressure inside of you, or you can just imagine. Let yourself relax and allow that increased flow of energy up through you. Let yourself relax and allow that to create a glow of energy from deep inside of you, glowing right out through you and right out through everything and everyone around you. Floors, chairs, walls, ceilings, letting it glow right out through people, baby ducks, baby rhinos, scout, redeeming, newspaper-worthy lotto winnings, whatever you've got in your surroundings. Let it glow right through. And just notice any place in your body or any place that your imagination recognizes that energy stream has been restricted, or any place where your body has tightened. And simply focus there, breathe there, and allow that to open and expand to let that stream of energy from the center of the Earth flood right up through you, up and into source. If you can, go ahead and stay with that meditation all the way through to the end of the program, just bringing your focus back again and again and again to that open vertical beam of energy. If you need to bring your focus back into your morning routine or whatever you're doing right at the moment, then give yourself a big breath. And as you let it out, let that bring your eyes back open and bring you right on back into the room. Welcome back.
Hi, this is Rudy from Campbell, and I just wanted to say thank you to Scout for all that he's done with his Life Insights work. I've had the privilege of working with Scout since, I think it was 2008 when I was introduced to the Life Insights work, and it's just been amazing stuff, and I'm very grateful to know Scout and to be a part of the Life Insights family. Thank you, Scout.
Ooh, thank you, Rudy. We appreciate that. We're glad to have you, too. Cool. And again, we'd love to have your endorsement if you've gotten something out of the radio show or working with me individually or any of the classes with me or the Life Insights teachers when we had them, and we'll be having them again. Or from the LEAP program, we'd love to have your endorsement. First name, town you live in, and a sentence or two. It doesn't need to be a long story, a sentence or two. And you can put that in on our voicemail, 925-676-5189, 925-676-5189. That's in the website under Contact Us. Or just record it on your phone as a voice memo, record it on Zoom, send us the audio file only, and just send it to us in an email, scout@lifeinsights.net. Now, please note, .net. Somebody owns lifeinsights.com. Or just through our website, through the Contact Us on the website. Just the ifidknownthen.com or the memorable shortcut, not Scott.
Well, in 96, I had a reading. I thought I'd take a class and maybe learn something, and all these years later, I teach the material. I use it daily. I find it very, very valuable, and I encourage other people to study with you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we'd love to have your endorsement, too, if you've gotten something from the radio shows or from individual work with me or from the LEAP program or even from classes that you did when we were able to do classes, and we're coming back toward being able to do that. We'd love to have your input on those. Just give us a call and put it on our voicemail, and the phone number's right there under the Contact Us on the website, or you can just record the audio in Zoom or record it on a voice memo and email it to us, and away we go. Just first name, town you live in, and then what you've got to say. Regret, remorse, resentments, and grief. It's an amazing time to be alive. It's an amazing time to be alive. And I'm going to tell you, you chose to be here on the planet for this time period. You chose to be here on the planet during this amazing energetic transformation. You chose to be here on the planet during this amazing energetic transformation. And you chose it with purpose, either because you thought you'd be able to help, or because you thought you needed to learn from it, or just because you really, really, really like psychological, emotional, and energetic roller coasters. Could be any of those things. You like it when everything, maybe you just like the chaos. Be at peace with that. You chose to be here during this remarkable marker of a time period. My guidance phrases it that what we have in our records about the previous time when this reality system that we refer to as Earth did a transformation to this degree, what we have in our records about the previous time that this reality system did a transformation are the ancient stories of Atlantis. When this reality system was Atlantis and then shifted up a notch to be Earth. I know it's a little tricky to wrap your head around. It's like science fiction movies when you have to wrap your head around the time travel paradoxes. Regret, remorse, resentment, grief. Don't let those thoughts that are coming to the surface make you think that you're overloaded with that stuff. Don't let those thoughts that are coming to the surface make you think that you're overloaded with that stuff. Regret, remorse, resentments, and grief. Even my phone line doesn't like that. Just give yourself the permission to notice those out-of-date thoughts, those out-of-date experiences, and the justification and rationale wrapped around them. Give yourself permission to notice those out-of-date thoughts and those out-of-date experiences, and the justification and rationale wrapped around them. To be able to notice them, let them surface, notice your attachments to them, and then let them go. Just let them flow right on through you and out. Release the places in your body or in your psychology that you're gripping on them. I mean, I love that Rosenframe technique. It's pretty simple. Pulling cords, also pretty simple, and yet huge benefit and huge changes. Allow yourself to practice with it on purpose. But mostly, the key part is let yourself notice these things that are old memories, old programs, old impressions, old imprints. They made an impression on you. They imprinted you. They left a dent. Let yourself notice this stuff as it's surfacing, rather than have it suppressed or trying to keep not thinking about it or trying to intentionally not think about it. Now, if you're in the middle of a business meeting and it's a memory that's going to bring tears, yeah, make a note to yourself to go back and find it later, depending upon what kind of company you work with. But other than that, if you can let it roll through for 10, 20, 30 seconds, just let your whole body feel it, and then as if you let it feel it, and then you let it roll on out through your feet and your fingertips. As if you let yourself feel it, and then you let it roll on out through your feet and your fingertips. Just let that roll on through and outward, letting yourself release it. Releasing those regrets, releasing those remorse, releasing those resentments, and even releasing the sorrow part of grief. Now, I will definitely mark that the same way that physical events that leave a mark, it changes the shape of our body. It leaves that mark. It's there now. I've got some scars from places where I made mistakes. And while, fortunately, most of them don't impede my motion or my use, I have one that cost me some of my stretch on the piano, but that doesn't matter much. But they're there, and they change those places in my body. Well, the places where we get an impression or an imprint, so I will say that grief, before and after a grief event, it's a change. There's things in my life before that event and things in my life after that event. And there's a definitive change. There's a marker. There's a definitive change. In all of the major grief points in my life, it's like, before that event, after that event. They're just markers. But, I also remember before I graduated high school, after I graduated high school, before I graduated college, after I graduated college, before I left this job or that job, and so forth. They're all markers. But the sorrow parts, and particularly the place where our mind wants to reinstitute and rediscuss our regrets and our resentments, whole different deal. And we want to take all of the na, and then they this, and then they that. We want to take it off of that. It's a wonderful phrase I've been working with, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, which is, I forgive them, not based on whether they deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve peace. And then borrowing from Dr. Jerry Jampolsky, forgiveness is not the same as condoning or approving on, but we don't need to hold the grip. Well, I'm recognizing that I also need to forgive me, not based on whether or not I think I deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve to let go of all of this stuck stuff that has shaped me into who I am, and to simply be the shape of who I am now. To let go of the resentments, the regrets, to even let go of the remorses, the I shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and to even let the sorrow come off of the griefs. It'll never, grief is grief. It changes you. But the mind and body-numbing sorrow doesn't have to be attached to it forever. Don't, and if you're in the middle of a grief process, don't think I just said you should be done with it in 10 minutes or even our society thinks you're done with the sorrow part in a year. No, there's a lot more processing for many of us than 1 year worth. Readapting to a life that's now changed. But this period of time, those, particularly the old resentments and the old regrets of I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and the resentments of they shouldn't, they couldn't, they shouldn't, they must have been, how mean were they, how cruel were they, who could they have been, what could they have thought of me, if I really cared about somebody, I never woulda, all of that stuff. All of that's getting shoved forward, and any of y'all that have done session with me know I'm not just talking about you. All of that's getting shoved forward in all of us, which is why I'm talking about it. And it's getting shoved forward for us to notice that there's been this repeating mind chatter in the back of our mind running around and around and around in a loop that never lets us get our marbles back, as it were. It never lets us get our aliveness back for as long as it's running around in those circles in that loop. Take the moment to notice the thoughts that are surfacing, and then simply breathe to them, rose and frame them, relax to them, talk them out with your therapist, work on them with a coach, exercise them out, clear your mind every time they show up to release them. Notice the stuff that's being brought forward and let it release with all of its attachments. My name is Scout Bartlett. It's Life Insights Live. The website is ifidknownthen.com or notscott.com. Go in and download some of the rest of the shows and listen to the rest of it. But two more favors. One, treat yourself as a loved one, because you truly are. And no matter where on earth you are, it's a perfect day to have a great day on purpose.